Welcome to Red Zone DFS. We got week 4. Today we're going to go through all of our positions like normal. We're going to save our stacks for the end, so make sure you stick around for the best game backs of the day. Week 3 was good to us, boys. Went up a couple racks this week to get the bankroll up. I mean, I'm ready to keep piling it on this week. How you guys feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I came top 6 in 3 different GPPs last week, thanks to my main man, Matt Collins, and a few of the other guys that we pointed out. Unfortunately didn't take down a GPP, but went up a couple thousand, and it's just keep churning them out. Showdown's been really good to us, besides the Sunday night game, which we won't talk about. But yeah, this week's going to be fantastic. Vinnie, how you feeling about?
I feel good
this week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was not in the major winning pool like you two, but I still ended up pretty much breaking even on the weekend between main slate, showdown, college, everything else. So you live to fight another day. So I feel good about
just so
this
everyone
week.
knows, I got into the winnings here, top 3, almost took down a GPP without Matt Collins. So I still stand by me not playing Matt Collins, even though Jimmy definitely came up with it.
It worked.
Just think about if you had
it
Matt
worked.
Collins.
I know.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. I mean, come on.
Well,
it was ceiling.
But again, like just real quick, we'll talk about that, how the process worked though,
Yeah.
right? You look at a team, you look that they have, certain strengths on defense, and the Raiders offense is very concentrated, especially passing wise, to one player. If you take away that one player without Hunter Renfrow in the lineup, you have Darren Waller and you have Matt Collins, and that's basically it. So for $3,300,
it was worth a shot.
It was worth a shot. I think that I found the next Matt Collins this week. I don't know if we'll pick out anybody for that cheap. Again, that'll smash like that this year. But I think he's got a good chance to at least 4x his salary. But we'll get to that when we hit receivers.
My big hitter last week that I'm disappointed I can't play this week is Olave for the Saints. He's over in foggy London town this week. But him getting 27 points last week at 4,500. I had him about 70% of my lineups. That really helped out. So we're rocking and rolling. We're ready for week 4. Let's move on to quarterbacks, boys. Let's go from the top. We obviously know some of these top guys, but hey, we're going to talk about them anyways because they're so exciting. Jimmy, go for it.
I mean, a couple weeks ago, how we just absolutely, we did very, very well with the Miami-Baltimore game. Here we go again. We've got concentrated offenses on both sides. You've got clear stacking options on both sides. I don't know how you don't play Josh Allen this week. I don't care that he's 8,400. I don't care that he might be the highest owned quarterback. I'm playing 30 to 40% Josh Allen this week, and that's just it. You can play the guy on the other side as well, but if I'm going to pick in the 8,000s here, Josh Allen's my guy. Vinnie?
Yeah, and Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's coming in under 5% owned right now. If that sticks and holds, I mean, you sometimes just got to flip to the other side of that game and go more Lamar. But I'm with you. This game, I think, is going to explode.
I've got 8 to 12% on Lamar right now.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, I've got 14 to 16%.
I'll touch on Lamar because I'm going to make it really simple for me. I told you guys this earlier about probably 80% of my lineups are going to be between these two. They're just one. It's very doable this week with the price plays, other positions. Obviously, Josh Allen is just unbelievable. Guy's Superman. The other side of this game, I love Lamar. I mean, he right now, so like here's a few stats that I heard. He's got the number 1 scoring offense the Ravens do in the league. He's 5th also in rushing yards, Lamar is, in the whole league. He's accounted for 87% of the yards for the Ravens. Yeah, like we talk about just concentrated offense. So like we always talk about like, oh, I'll take the guy who, gets the rock and, is going to get concentrated targets on bad teams. Like, well, how about I give you the guy that's concentrated offense on the best offense in the league? Like, I'm just going to play it. It's for me, I don't even need to stack it. I want to, obviously, and we'll talk about that at the end. But like, if you can only fit in Lamar, I'm just going to do it and plug him in and take my 30-point floor. Like, that's just where he's at right now. So until someone stops him, man, I'm going to keep playing him.
Joe, are you going to one of the top 3, or are you just?
I'm going to actually. So one person I'm fading this week is going to be Hurts. I think Jacksonville's defense is nasty. I think that D line is really good. The weather might be a little bit shaky in this game. I think this game has a lot of what they like to call fuck shit going on. I think there's going to be a lot of weird plays, weird stuff happening. I just don't see Hurts possibly getting that 30 points. I still see him getting that 22, 24, but that's not even getting us to 4X. I think there's better options here. Yeah. Same goes for Kyler Murray.
I think he's got the biggest bust potential of the 3 of hitting value.
If he was cheaper, I would be more into it. But if you can spend the extra $200 or $100 to play Lamar or Allen, like, I'll just do that.
Yep. That's how I feel too.
So. I feel the same way about Kyler. He's priced up too high. Carolina's defense is really good. And Arizona, I mean, we just don't know what they are yet. Until DeAndre Hopkins comes back, I'm staying away from that. But moving down, I'm all the way down in the 5,000 range for my next quarterback. Do you guys have anyone higher in the 6K, 7K range?
Not a ton, but I do have some curiosity in a couple of guys here.
So do I. I have one guy in the 6s I like. And I already talked about
I guess he's not in the 6s. So, Vinny, you go ahead.
I mean, I hate him, Mr. Robot himself, but if he's ever going to break out, Russ, 6,700, I will take a few shots on him here. We saw how bad the Raiders defense was last week versus Tennessee. I mean, Ryan Tannehill threw for multiple touchdowns against him. Like, the one thing that was encouraging for me as my heart broke on Monday night watching the Niners lose was towards the end, Russ started to like freelance a little bit and play like Russ and get out of that Nathaniel Hackett like offense. So if he's going to do that, I like Russ. Obviously, we don't know what we're going to get here, but I think it's a great spot. I think Sutton could have a really big day here potentially. Like, there's going to be opportunities to put up points here.
I just think Russ is priced a little bit too high for me, but I do agree with you on somebody like Sutton. Like, Sutton's gonna find his way into my stacks easily this week. Yeah. This Denver offense, there's nothing right about it right now.
It's bad, man. So it really is.
I'm going to have a little bit of exposure to it because I think you're right. If there's a game for him to get right, it's going to be this week in Las Vegas. And so I'm going to have a little bit of exposure just so I don't get burned. But this Denver offense is looking really, really atrocious right now. And I'm not going to have a lot of exposure to it.
The other reason, which I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit, is I like this game. I have a feeling some people are going to flock a little bit more to the run game because of a few guys, one guy at the running back position with Javonte. But I always like going to games where I think the team's going to blast off. And, I'll take the passing game if everyone's going to take the running back. So just a little bit different way to get exposure there.
I'll flip to the other side of that game. Because I know Matt Collins did it last week. I'm going to be playing a couple of lineups with Derek Carr and then Devontae Adams. I think this is a week where they just force feed the shit out of him. I get that Surtain's probably going to be covering him a fair amount of the time, but I'm going to be willing to take that gamble in some larger field GPPs just to get weird a little bit.
It will be different.
And my other guy right next to him is going to be Goff. I really don't I get it. You say the name this is part of the reason. You say the name Goff and then you say Lions and people just start saying no. I'll just go play Aaron Rodgers for $500 more, right? Or $400 more. But the fact of the matter is that the Lions offense is extremely explosive this year. And I don't care how you want to slice it. They're playing the Seahawks, who the Niners' pathetic offense, who could barely score any points, scored 27 points against the Seahawks. So, I mean, last week, the Seahawks gave up a ton of points at home. I think that Jared Goff might be one of my favorite quarterback plays this week. And it's causing me to go from Allen all the way down to 5,900.
All right.
I agree. I really like Goff this week. Detroit, you're right. And the thing is, I was actually watching a replay last night of that game they played last week against the Vikings. Goff just looks good. There's moments he gets out of the pocket. He creates more space. He hits Amon-Ra St. Brown or Chark underneath. He looks good. He looks comfortable. I really like Goff. But I'm going to go right back to where I went last week and the week before, and I'm going back to Mariota at 5,600.
Yeah.
If he can just avoid fumbling the ball in really crucial situations, the Falcons would actually have more wins this year, right?
Yes.
He has a fumble lost in every single game, and I think they're all in the fourth quarter. But
God, that's so bad.
He's averaging 18 points a game. Yeah. He's averaging 18 points a game, right? We need to get 22 points out of him to get that 4X range. Going against Cleveland, the total's at 49.5. The ownership here is I think it's concentrated on 8%, and everyone's hitting that game stack. We got to be a part of that game stack this week, because if it goes, you're out.
So the nice part about Mariota in that offense is it might be the most concentrated offense in the entire league.
Yeah.
There's 3 guys that get the ball, right? So it makes it really easy. If you wanted to get really aggressive, and if you wanted to like every once in a while, like every week, I throw a couple of lineups into the $9 slant, which is 150 max tournament. I usually throw 5 or 6 in there because it's got a good even payout structure at the top. It's not like, if you happen to take it down and then come in second place, it's like 30% less or something. It's really, really evenly paid out. In a tournament like that, I legitimately think you can, we'll talk more about stacks later, but you can play all 3 of those guys with Mariota, and no one else is going to do that. And if it hits, and if this is a very high scoring game, then you're going to be in business, right? And I think it's going to be the Browns have this air of like they have a good defense, and it's just really not that good. I don't think that Myles Garrett's going to play because he was in that car accident.
Guys, Myles Garrett, I feel like he's so underrated, or at least people don't talk about him enough because he's up in Cleveland. I'm not saying he's as good or as much of a game wrecker as Micah Parsons right now, but he has that kind of effect on their defense. Just like TJ Watt with Pittsburgh. When they leave their defense, their whole defense changes. Right.
Yeah.
So if Garrett's not playing this week, and then you got Clowney that's possibly not playing, those are your end guys. Mariota's gonna be running all over the place.
Well,
this is a hit smash spot.
And Clowney has some of the worst endurance out of any edge rusher. He doesn't play. I think he plays like 45 to 50% of snaps. Like he does not play every snap. Myles Garrett,
he's their pass rush guy on third downs. So if neither of those guys are playing, I mean, this is a huge smash spot. Mariota and Patterson with their 2 top edge rushers are out.
Yep.
Sign me up.
Yeah. You guys are talking about it. I was a little bit hesitant at first, but then I started digging more, and I'm with you. Like, I think I believe I'm checking right now, the second highest over under on the slate is what I think that's accurate. So there is a path that this is the game, right? Because if your hope is you overstack this game and that Buffalo Ravens game for whatever reason doesn't pop off, like you're in serious business. You know what I mean? Like,
if you stack this game, it allows you to actually get exposure to that Buffalo-Baltimore game. You know what I mean? Because everything is so cheap in this game. This is my favorite stack.
Totally.
So, I mean, to that same point, going down a little bit lower, I feel like we're running into the same situation with Zach Wilson at 5,200. Pittsburgh is an absolute shell of itself without TJ Watt. I mean, he is the heart and soul of that defense. You made them teams go max protect to contain him. They would have to double team him, which made everyone else's job on that D line a lot easier. Now you don't have to worry about that. Zach Wilson probably could have played last week, I think. They held him out the extra week. He says he's 100%. He feels good. And I think we're going to see the Jets actually have some really good dynamic playmakers. They've got the rookie Garrett Wilson. They've got Elijah Moore. They've got Breece Hall. They've got Michael Carter. They've got guys. Right?
Yeah.
I really like that.
We got a question about this on Twitter from, I think, Mint Condition. But, like, I don't mind taking a shot here because he's so cheap with But if you're going to do it, I think it's in a bigger GPP and you just go all like you double stack.
You got to do them both. You got to do
I think
Wilson.
you go Wilson and Moore, and you hope that this Jets offense absolutely lights it up. Because
the only thing that scares me with it, I'm going to have exposure to Wilson, right? Because I think this Jets offense can explode. I mean, Flacco Flame was doing it, but Zach Wilson, is he going to be that rusty? Right, we've seen these quarterbacks not have that much game action, especially those ones that like didn't play in preseason, and then they came out in week 1 looking like dog shit.
We'll see.
He doesn't have any preseason. He hasn't played any games. Right? Is he really rusty? I'm going to have exposure in big GPPs.
He is kind of a gunslinger, and again, I think you have to overexpose it. And if it pops, it pops. But even like you need it to really go off because again, even if Wilson gets to 20 points, 22 has a really good game, and you go one receiver and that guy puts up 17 or something like. You still just may be so far behind the field, like because some of these games go off.
I disagree there because he's so cheap. He's 5,200, so that's why we're talking about these.
Your other guys you play have to get after it, like the spend ups in other spots that you're sacrificing for.
But that's why you're.
No, I understand totally. Yeah. I'm just saying, like if you don't have the chalk and that chalk gets going, like you may be in trouble anyways, but. You're not if, like you said, you play a 1% Devontae Adams, right? And he goes for 40 this week. It's like now you're fine. Like you're in business, right? So,
well, Jimmy, I have a better question for you here.
Mm-hmm.
How does Zach Wilson stay so hairless? How does he stay so clean? Does he have hair underneath his pants? I mean, what's going on with him? What does he use?
I don't know, Joe, but if I had to take a guess, I would have to guess that support for Zach Wilson and his MILF hunting brand comes from Manscaped, just like support for our Red Zone DFS podcast. Best in the men's below the waist grooming. The products are precision engineered for your family jewels. Performance package is the ultimate. We see people signing up. They've been posting on Twitter. They're taking advantage of the 20% off. Over 6 million people, or probably close to 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. That's probably, up from 12 million to 14 million balls. 20% off, free worldwide shipping with the code ZONE20 at manscaped.com. That's ZONE20 at manscaped.com. We'll leave it up here at the bottom of the screen. Joe, I mean, you were at the Ritz last week. You were feeling good. I mean, how much did that confidence of that Manscaped equipment give you?
I mean, it was amazing. I had to take our baby photos, our pregnancy photos. So, the wifey wanted me looking real nice and sharp. And it was just in time for my Manscaped package. So I got nice and cleaned up. I looked great in the pictures. Well, at least I thought so. And so Zach Wilson probably looks like me after a couple of days without using Manscaped, right?
Look, you got to just opt. You have to opt for the full package too. The performance package gives you the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, boxer briefs, and a travel bag. I'm hitting the road tomorrow for a few days. I'm headed up to Boise for work. I'm taking the travel bag with me, and I'm taking the whole kit with me just to make sure that I stay fresh for my meetings tomorrow and Friday, and we can close some big deals and get ready for the weekend.
Yeah.
Vinnie?
Two of my favorite things that I've been using the nose trimmer, which is absolutely dynamite. When you use a bad one, it just like you get that little twinge, that little like, oh my God, it'll bring a tear to your eye when you catch a stray one like that. That's been dynamite. And then they've got this spray, like the refresher. So like midday, get ready to go out or something. You just kind of, refresh up a few sprays and you're good to go. So it's hard to beat.
It puts the fucking pep in your step. Okay.
Absolutely.
Again, 20% off, free shipping worldwide. So we know we have a lot of listeners around the world. We're playing a game in cherry old London this week. London listeners, 20% off, ZONE20 with the code at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping, ZONE20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, guys, let's move on to running back.
Running backs. Here we go. Vinny, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, man. I think up top, I mean, you guys hit on the game. I'm going to keep playing him because he's, again, coming in sub 10% ownership. But if I'm going up, I'm going to Nick Chubb. I know you've got that thorn in your ass with Kareem Hunt, who's always going to be there, but it's okay. Like, they can both get their share. And the one thing about Chubb is you've got to get the touchdowns, but he's been getting them. And when he does, like, he is putting up 20-plus points. I think he's leading the league in rushing right now.
Yes, he is.
It's
I don't think this
ignore.
game. I don't think this game is being scored by 3-yard runs, right? And Chubb getting exhausted, and then Kareem Hunt coming into the end in the red zone. I think this game is huge hitting plays constantly. We're going to see Nick Chubb breaking for 80, 50, 40-yard runs.
Big time. Yeah. We've seen Chubb have those games where it's like 4 minutes into the first quarter and he pops off a 70-yarder and you're like, uh-oh, like I don't have Nick Chubb today. Like he's going banana sandwich. So, yeah, man, if I'm going up top, I like Chubb. I mean, obviously I like a few of the other guys. I think he's the slate breaker. He's my favorite. He's my favorite place here so far.
I think he's the slate breaker at running back this week.
Yeah. That's for me.
Yeah.
Up top.
I mean, I like the call. He's sandwiched in between Barkley and Eckler, who are both in the 13 to 18% owned range. So just by naturally, people think that I actually don't get it. I would think personally you would probably want to own him over Barkley this week, but I mean, Saquon Barkley's been pretty goddamn dynamic, so it's kind of hard to argue with that.
Yeah, and just real quick, early ownership is showing CMC and Saquon are going to be pushing 20%. Henry and Chubb are going to be sub 10. That's where it's playing out right now. They'll probably pick up steam a little, but that's where we're at today.
I don't trust McCaffrey with Baker Mayfield as his quarterback. Baker tries to do everything himself. He won't dump it off. He tries to take it on his own. McCaffrey's not getting any targets anymore. It's really upsetting. They want him to be the ground and pound guy.
He's getting the volume, and it's just, but the problem is, like
last
you said,
week
Joey,
he got the volume.
Well, I mean, every week he's been getting volume, but the problem is number one, the Panthers aren't very good, so they don't get into the red zone very much. Yeah. That's a problem. And like you said, Joey, he's just not getting enough passing work. Now, it could absolutely be the week where he just smashes. Carolina going east or Arizona going east to Carolina. Depending on what this hurricane does, there's going to be some rain. So it could just be kind of one of those slop fests. Give the ball to McCaffrey a bunch. But even then, like that makes me not like it even more, right? So I think that I'm going to go back to
you need 26 to 30 points for him to like value out, and that's just you need. It's hard for me to see that right now.
You need 34 points from McCaffrey for him to get our 4x, and really we're looking for those 6xers to take down a GPP. I mean,
so the guy that I think that has that upside that the computers and all the optimals don't like up here is going to be Derrick Henry.
Looked good last week.
He looked good last week. He got there. He's at 6 to 7% owned this week. I mean, if I like some of these pay down options at quarterback, this is the kind of guy that I'm looking for to get up here. Now, I really do like Saquon Barkley quite a bit, but if his ownership continues to climb, I'm going to have to look for pivots elsewhere up there, and Derrick Henry is the perfect one. It's only $300 more. I really like the Chubb. So for me up top, it's Henry and Chubb. Joe, anybody else?
I'm right there with you.
No one up top, but just so you know, I mean, so the listeners know, Shaq Leonard should be back this week for that Colts defense, which definitely changes that defense. I think they have a strong defense in the first place. It's their offense that's been sputtering, right? I specifically picked Derrick Henry to be the highest scoring running back last week, and I was right, but that was because he was going against the Raiders. This Colts defense scares me a lot more than that. So I don't know if I'm going back to Derrick Henry this week. Chubb is my favorite up top. As we go down here in the 6,000 range, it's Cordero Patterson again. Sign me up. 6,500, still too cheap. This guy is the focal point of their offense, and the way I see this game going is big hitters. Cordero Patterson is the big hitter king, especially if he hits like screen passes or anything. He literally looks like a return specialist, and he just weaves his way through and gets 30 yards every time he gets a screen ball. Again, no Myles Garrett, possibly no Jadeveon Clowney. this is a smash spot again. I think people go, well, Patterson went off last week. He can't go off again. No, he absolutely can go off again. He's gotten 25 points twice in 3 weeks.
Yes.
Yep. For sure. And a big point of that is the jinx is off because I did play him last week and he had a good game. So it's not official. Like,
all right,
you're safe to play him. We're good.
So we're good now, huh?
Yeah, we're good. I'll be honest, man. One of my favorite fades, I think, of the week, I'm going to fade Javonte Williams.
Whoa.
I just don't love the volume, dude. Like,
I don't.
You guys talked about it. I think Denver, they don't know like what they're doing out there, and that's why I say like if I'm gonna do it, I kind of just like Russ to go out there and street ball it. You know what I mean? Like that's where I think the plays come from. I don't know, man. He still has Melvin Gordon there just hovering, and I think there's just better plays at that price point.
Yeah, I just don't really care.
I just don't think there's going to be enough. I don't think there's going to be enough scoring in this game. I think this game's going to be like 20-14, something around that range. I just don't see the scoring.
Too. I think Javonte is one of those guys that is an ultimate tournament player. He has a very low floor, but all you need him to do is break one big. He has not done it this year. The Raiders, historically, are not a good tackling team. They're just not. So, everyone fell in love with him after week 1. He got all the passing volume. I'm not really expecting that, but he's a guy. I mean, if he was getting owned, then I would think about fading him. But at 6%, like,
is that where he's at right now? I didn't see that. Yeah. I don't know, man.
So
I'm with you. I just I look at it every week, and we saw it firsthand on Monday night. Like,
hey, look,
he is in a full dead split, which I know we've line in certain situations.
That Niners defense is top 5.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about being a wreck, and it's like it could be Melvin this week.
Just a little nugget to put in your ear. Melvin Gordon is dealing with a neck issue. Okay,
it's a neck.
So that's why I'm going to play. Kidding. I mean, okay. But the chance of re-aggravating a neck injury for a running back is pretty high.
I thought Javonte was going to steam up and be up there quite a bit because I hear everybody talking about him.
Well, he's not. For some reason, James Conner, who I'm fading, is getting up into the mid-teens of ownership.
Yeah, he's burned me in the last 2 weeks, so I'll fade him, and he's going to go off probably.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. And then we talked about this guy earlier, Jamal Williams. He is the mega chalk right now. He's sitting at 22 to 27%,
which I think,
and that's why Goff. That's why Goff is the play.
I think one guy you can continue to play because you attack him on the ground if you're going to do it. I'm going to keep playing James Robinson, dude. He looks freaking fantastic. And the Jaguars do not want to get in a track meet here with Philly.
No, they don't. They want to play ball control. I mean, we got a little revenge game going for the coach. He's going to want to just grind that game out. Again, it's in Philadelphia. There's probably going to be some residuals of rain from that hurricane that's coming up through Florida right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate that play, but for me, like Jamal Williams is a guy that, we're talking about concentrated offenses. I mean, there's nobody else. No, Jamal Williams.
Oh, Jamal. Sorry.
I'm playing him. I don't care about
Swift's not ruled out yet, is he?
No, but I don't care. I mean, he's dealing with a little something. They really do. I mean, you saw it in Hard Knocks.
He re-aggravated his ankle last
week. They think the world of Swift, and Dan Campbell has aspirations of making the playoffs and making a playoff run and trying to win a championship. I know that sounds crazy to everybody else, but they're going to be cautious. And if they have Jamal Williams, they're going to just ride him for a game or two and let Swift kind of take it easy. Right.
Big time.
And they've even talked about shutting Swift down for a game or two just to give him some time to rest.
Which they probably
That's why he's getting the chalk. So, all right, guys, let's move down into the 5K.
It's a good play. Yeah.
So going against your James Robinson play, Vinny, I think it's a fine play. I think Philly's defense is going to be stacked up to stop him. I think it's ETN's week. I think ETN, he's getting those like 13 touches, right? 5,400. He looks explosive. All he needs to do is break off that one.
Yep.
Right, which he's due. He is so due to break off that one and get that touchdown, possibly two. I think ETN just takes it from Robinson this week. Even though Robinson's been looking great.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to take it from him. I see the play though, like especially if they go down early. Like
I look at it just like Chubb and Hunt with Robinson and ETN. That's the same exact thing I see. And sometimes Hunt gets those games. This could be that game where ETN eats.
I'm with you, Joe. I'm all over ETN this week. He's too cheap. He's going to be like 0.5% to 2% owned. He's a guy that could absolutely flip the script and win you a GPP this week, just like all the Devin Singletary that I played last week when he was 0.75% owned, 0.75% owned, and had 12 catches in that shootout. Yeah, I'm going back to Devin Singletary in quite a bit of my lineups. He's going to be the perfect piece to put on the other side of the Lamar game stack in my Buffalo lineups. They're mixing in Moss and Cook every now and then, but it's Singletary's job, and he's getting all of the passing work too.
Yeah, for me in that range, the only reason I'm not necessarily going to be playing a lot of ETN is like, one, obviously we need to see if Montgomery's going to play, because if he doesn't, Khalil Herbert, I'm firing him up. He's another guy who just is a better player than David Montgomery. Like,
yes,
he just is.
Well,
like, so
the consensus is that he's just honestly a better fit in that offense than Montgomery is. Everyone's believed that for a while. And
so there's Herbert and Pierce. And again, Pierce got 20 touches finally last week. He delivered. They both are playing subpar defenses, especially now with the Chargers losing Bosa. They are just decimated. Like, I'll play Herbert and Pierce with the volume and the matchup versus, like, again, you can take swings on ETN in a tournament, no problem at all. Like, I just think those two guys have much safer like routes to getting 20 points, you know.
But to be fair, like, I'm not really looking for safe. Like,
right,
I'm
but
looking
like
for explosive at. I mean, Dameon Pierce is going to be 15% owned.
Okay, but I just don't see with the volume. Like, you're going to need the outlier game of ETN that we haven't.
But see, ETN got 16 touches last week with his explosiveness.
But they were up 28 points, and even still, Joe, he only put up 10.5 DraftKings points.
But that's the whole point, Vinny. They were up that many points. That's not an ETN game script. I think that this is more of a shootout. I don't think that this is going to be very close.
So, but what I'm saying is that he got 16 touches last week for only 10.5 points. Like, you're expecting him to get like 20 plus touches, and he's going to have to break one of those.
I'm expecting him to get different touches this week. The 16 to 18 touch range is absolutely fine, but this week, I'm saying the story that I'm telling is that he's going to be more involved in the passing game. They're going to try and take away Kirk. Everyone knows that Kirk is a thing now, right? So now it's going to be up to Zay Jones and ETN and whatever tight end that they want to line up out there to help them move the ball. And they're going to have to keep up. If their defense can't keep up, and if it is a little bit rainy and sloppy, those short passes are what Doug Peterson is going to do to make sure that Trevor Lawrence stays.
And I can see Doug Peterson pulling out all the stops to beat Philly, right? Totally. So he's going to pull out some trick shit. He's going to do some weird shit to get ETN involved and get him into open space.
And I think that's totally
fair. It's an ETN week.
Yeah, for sure. I think if Montgomery's out, Herbert Pierce safer, but ETN is someone that could absolutely win you.
And right next to ETN is Josh Jacobs. That's taken on a lot of ownership, and I'm going to have zero.
Why?
I don't understand.
Why every week people just like
they have a terrible offensive line. Denver has a top 5 defense.
Yeah, there's no way I'm touching that.
And the Raiders have no intention of running the ball.
Yeah. I don't have anyone below ETN. So I did have some interest earlier in the week in some of the Jets with Breece Hall getting more run, but I just don't know what we're going to see with this new Zach Wilson offense, so I'm off.
Yep. All right, guys, moving on.
All right. We're going to hit tight ends, and then we're going to bring it back with stacks. You want to do?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear up top where if you could find the money, wide receiver 1, Mark Andrews is the play. Like, this dude is seeing an unbelievable amount target share in the receiving game. He's in the highest scoring offense, in the highest projected game. He is target number 1 for them. I don't see, again, I think it's a priority to get Mark Andrews in your lineups, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think he's priced perfectly, right? 28 points get you 4x. He's gotten 28 points the last 2 games. He has 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. I really do want to see how healthy Buffalo's defense is going into this week. That does actually determine a lot, because if their safeties are coming back and healthy, that definitely changes a little bit. But no matter what,
it didn't matter against Miami and New England. And again, if they have to dedicate so much to Lamar and trying to stop the run, and they're just so worried about it, right? Like, there's one guy that continues just to get open, and he is the new Travis Kelce, in the league. So, yeah, man. What about below Andrews? We can agree that he's obviously a phenomenal play, but below him,
Pitts is an obvious one, right? Going right back to that game, into that game stack, and we'll get back to the game stack again. But yeah, man, it's Kyle Pitts. Is it Kyle? Is that his first name? Yeah. All right. So Kyle Pitts in that Atlanta game, we've talked about it. Cleveland, no edge rushers. They're starting to target Pitts. They know that he's their guy. They're splitting him out wide sometimes for mismatches on corners, for fade routes in the end zone. He's a receiver / tight end, and he should be up in that 7K range, just like Andrews, because he has that ceiling.
He has. I mean, he just hasn't done it. Right. So if you played him at 7K, nobody would play him. Like, that's an interesting spot, like price point. I think it's probably pretty accurate. Like, I'm with you. He's probably one of the few guys that has, at least based on last year, the same upside, but we need to see him do it. Like, this is the game, right? Like, this is the perfect game for him to do that. In my opinion,
we're just missing that touchdown from him, right? He's getting that 6 catches, 65 yards. He's actually getting the targets. We just need that touchdown.
And that idiot Arthur Smith is like, yeah, I don't play fantasy football, like target. It's like, how about you just target your best players, dude? Like, that will help you win games. Below Kyle Pitts, I mean, David Njoku at 3,800 is interesting in that game, that Cleveland game. What do you think about him?
No, Njoku is perfect. I think he looks really good.
10 targets last week was nuts.
Yeah, and he looks good. Like, he's that tight end that, like, he's actually going against the trend right now where, okay, we got this super athlete. We're going to try to play him at tight end, and it never works out. Well, I think it's actually starting to work out for him. So Njoku is a super athlete. When he catches the ball, it's impressive how fast he is. And again, this Atlanta defense is nothing special. Seattle was, they made Geno Smith look like a goddamn Pro Bowler last week. So, I can see Njoku going off.
I think you could also look $100 more to Dawson Knox. Like, if you want exposure to that Buffalo Ravens game and get different, like we always talk about, like, it may not be Stephon Diggs. It may not be Gabe Davis or Rashad Bateman. Like, it could be Dawson Knox that catches 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? We saw it with Devin Singletary last week. So he's yet to have that breakout game. I kind of like that he has that questionable tag on him. He'll obviously play. We're right there, man. I think Dawson Knox is an interesting play on Sunday if you like that game, obviously.
Yeah, if we're going up a little bit, I'll stay in again the same games we've been talking about. It's Dallas Goedert for Philly. Everyone's going to be running Devontae Smith. Everyone's running to A.J. Brown. Everyone's going to be hopping on these stacks. Well, Dallas Goedert is still one of their guys. He's a top target. Hurts looks good. This Jacksonville defense is really good. Their D-line's really good. If they're pressuring Hurts and he's having to scramble around and make plays, Goddard's a great play. I think he's going to get a lot of targets and a lot of red zone targets.
I think he's always a great play just because he's kind of like 10-point floor every week, like right around there. And then he could pop for 18 plus, like very possible. So at his price point at 4,500, I think he's a great play. Jim, you're back here. We kind of talked about like getting exposure to the 2 games that we like, that Cleveland game and the Buffalo game, is like looking to Knox and Njoku is 2 like interesting ways to get exposure there. You could throw them into stacks, but you could also just like one-off that to get a piece of that game. And,
I like both of those guys. Also going to play a fair amount of Kyle Pitts.
We kind of touched
whether
on
it's in a stack or not. We talked about it before. The volume's just so concentrated around those 3 guys in that offense that, like, and I also don't understand why David Njoku is so cheap this week. His
monster
usage
game on Thursday.
And his ceiling. I mean, the algorithm should have caught that.
You would think.
I mean, people are going to still try and make Albert O happen.
Nope.
And a lot of people, not me, and a lot of people were flocking to Evan Ingram.
I'm not going to do it.
Like I would
rather play Thomas $100 less there. At least we know he's a part of the offense. I mean, whatever that means with Carson Wentz, I don't know, but he's a part of the offense. You know what I mean?
I mean, who knows right now, right? I mean, it's like one of those things that it's kind of a mystery.
Part of me likes it. It's dangerous.
No, playing Washington, there is nothing concentrated, right? Like we're talking about these teams that are super concentrated. Holy shit. We don't know who's getting the ball. If anyone's getting the ball with Carson Wentz throwing the ball.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason there at all.
With Micah Parsons coming after Wentz this week, I'm completely fading the potatoes.
If just a little tidbit, if TJ Hawkinson ends up missing, it looks like it's going to be Brock Wright at 2,500, which is the dead min for tight ends, who will be starting for Detroit.
All right. 2,500. That is, but I like it.
I don't either, Vinny. I had to go look up their depth chart and read a few beat reports to find out exactly who that might be. And I guess it is I forgot his name already. Brock something.
Yeah.
So,
we're just gonna go
Landers.
Yeah. Brock the Rock.
But,
I like it.
But if Hawkinson's out, a starting tight end in a game that we think is gonna, have some pretty good volume, we just need like 3 catches and a touchdown, and he's just smashing that 2,500. So
all right, boys. It's stack time.
Brock Wright.
Stack.
Brock Wright went to Notre Dame. Interesting. Okay.
Great.
Moving on to stacks.
All right. So my favorite game to stack this week, we already talked about it. It's Cleveland and Atlanta, right? I mean, you got Mariota, you got Cordell Patterson at receiver. You can go over to Amari Cooper on the Cleveland side. You got Drake London on the Atlanta side. You could even get weird and go with Olamide Zaccheaus, which randomly gets these catches. I mean, he's 4K. I'm not into him either, but he's that guy that you just go, what the hell? Why is he getting all of the touches? So if you're getting a lot of exposure to this Atlanta-Cleveland game, I do feel like you need to have at least a couple of those lineups with Zaccheaus in there. Because if he snags 2 touchdowns and you have like Pitts and Cordarrelle, those guys aren't getting the touchdowns, you're shit out of luck.
You're going to kill someone.
Well, that's pretty fine. Much. Look, if
he's getting 2 targets a game, like
I don't know what you're talking about with all this usage, Joe. But I mean,
he's out there.
Maybe you picked up some ayahuasca at the Ritz last week because he's not getting any usage. The usage in that stack is centered around 3 guys. It's Patterson, it's London, and it's Pitts, and I'm playing all 3 of them in stacks with Mariota and Chubb and Cooper coming back on the other side. You could play Chubb and Njoku if you want to save a little bit of money. I like, we've got some of our cheaper options at wide receiver we'll get to in a little bit here. But I like
my optimizer. My optimizer was really putting out a lot of Chubb with Njoku lineups with Patterson, with Pitts, going double tight end, Njoku and Pitts in the same lineup, just spitting those out. That was getting I was getting a little excited with those.
Sometimes it's nice. I don't use the optimizer to build my lineups, but when it shoots out certain stuff that I haven't seen, it makes me I have to go back and think a little bit. So it's one thing I really like using it for that reason. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a really sneaky full-on game slot that you can do that not a lot of people will do. And you don't have to worry about guessing who's going to get the volume because you'll have basically everything, especially for the Browns. I know you guys didn't want to play in the last few weeks. Didn't work out week 1, but every week since, Amari Cooper has gone over 20 points. So he's gone 4.7, 28, 26. So over 100 yards 2 weeks in a row. That's not going to stop. When they throw the ball, the target shares are going to him 50 to 60% of the time, and that's it.
And guys, this is the second highest total on the slate, and the public is on the under.
Yep.
This game's about to explode.
100%.
I like it.
All right, guys, next stack.
I mean, I talked about it. I mean, it doesn't really need to be like hammered home, right? Like, I mean, like my core in almost every stack is going to be with the Ravens-Bills game. Like, even games that I'm not primarily stacking these 2, I'm going to be picking off pieces like Bateman and Duvernay and McKenzie and Knox and Singletary. Like, I think you can just continuously have guys all over the map from this game and be fine.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo's secondary didn't get any better. Micah Hyde's out for the year.
Not great.
Which is really concerning for them as they push forward to try and win a Super Bowl here. It's a concern, right? So I really, really like all those guys. I'm going to concentrate my guys I play. It's either going to be Josh Allen with both receivers, or Josh Allen with one of the running backs and one of the receivers. And I'm talking about Diggs or Gabe Davis. McKenzie had a great week last week. I played a ton of Isaiah McKenzie, right?
Yeah, I'm afraid to chase him, but
exactly. I feel like that's just chasing points. Diggs or Davis is going to be back again, healthy. You talk about a guy that I think personally the Heat really affected, didn't play the week before, and then was just absolutely he looked gassed, man. I went back and watched the film, and he's like, his body language was not great. So I really like going back to Gabe Davis here. 6,600. Not a whole lot of people are going to own him. Everyone's going to be all over CeeDee Lamb, and they can have it. I'm fading. Yeah, I'm fading basically that whole game. If that game goes off, great. But I think that's going to be just like a massive stink fest. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be. It's going to be a lot like the Giants game was the other night. That the scoring picked up a little bit toward the end there, but I mean, there wasn't any world beaters that came out of that game aside from Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, and I think I'm just going to mix and match all of my different stacks with this and go, again, Lamar Andrews stack 2 will be Lamar Bateman Andrews, Andrews Duvernay, and then bring it back with Diggs, then go Bill's side.
I really like going like Lamar and Andrews by themselves, and then you go with Gabe Davis and Diggs.
You can do that for sure. Allen. It's definitely doable this week. So again, if you don't want to go full game, I think there's many ways to go about this game. I'm going to try to have them all.
I would encourage you though, if you're playing in single entry or 3 max, even if it's a larger field, I would encourage you to do the full-on game slot because no one else is going to do it.
Well, yeah, that's how you get different.
Exactly. I mean, these guys are going to be chalky, and that's okay. But not a lot of people are going to feel comfortable doing that full-on game slot. And look at the last 2 weeks. It's worked. If you've hit on the Bills-Dolphins game, coincidentally, it's been the Dolphins both time. And then if you've hit on Baltimore Dolphins again, like you probably made quite a bit of money. And if you just gobbled up most of everything in that, if you took Waddle and Hill with Tua or without Tua, you absolutely killed it, right?
Right.
So don't be afraid to get a little bit weird. And that brings me to like the next stack that I really like, because I like one or two options coming back on the other side. And we kind of already talked about it. Is the Detroit stack. I really hope that St. Brown plays. If he doesn't play, it'll be DJ Chark for me, which is a receiver that I like. And then it's going to be Goff, Williams, Chark. And I like running it back with Lockett. Okuda has really turned his game around, and he is going to be on DK Metcalf. He's one guy that probably not a lot of people know about yet, but you will, because he has played fantastic so far this year. Got beat up a little bit, kind of like
Jefferson last week.
Kind of like the Ambry Thomas thing with the Niners, right? Who was just getting absolutely cooked when he got put in there. But after a few weeks, you started to see him play a little bit better. Okuda did not have a good year last year. He was a very high draft pick. He's a talented guy. He's now showing that, right? Lockett is the guy that they're just kind of let run wild, and that's a super cheap stack, especially with Amon-Ra out. I hope that he plays because he's a really dynamic player and he's not going to be highly owned, but he is getting a little bit expensive. But again, I really don't care at that point.
I've got a bet for you guys straight up.
Okay.
Because I like this game. I think Geno outscores Goff. And if you're going to play this game, you go Geno, Lockett, and then you go Sun God Williams on the other side. That's how I'm going to do it.
Okay. Well, what are we betting? Because
I don't know. That's what we need to figure out.
I mean,
we can come back to you on it, but I'm just looking at it like.
I mean, Vinny, you and I are going to be together on Monday after this game goes.
All right.
So think about it. I mean,
we'll come up with something. We'll post about it or whatever.
Eat something gross.
But will you take that bet? I think Gino outscores him.
I'll take that bet 100 times out of 100. Geno Smith.
All right, guys. Okay, this is enough Geno talk. All right, moving on to the next stack that we haven't really talked about. I really like the Chargers versus the Texans stack. I think this game can get a little weird. I think people are terrified of the Chargers after last week's performance. Jaguars defense is actually really good, I think. Herbert did not practice last week with that rib injury, then they just came out and threw it 50 times. He had no Keenan Allen. He's probably getting Keenan Allen back this week after a full week of practice. Texans are going to be behind. They're going to be throwing to Brandon Cooks like crazy. It's going to be similar to what we saw with Marquise Brown with the Cardinals last week. I can see him getting like 18 targets. Another person I like in this game is actually Nico Collins. Nico Collins is playing a lot. He's getting targets. He's a part of the game plan. So if this game goes the way I think it is, Chargers are going to get up early. Eckler's actually going to get more carries than we think, and Houston's going to throw the ball a ton. Davis Mills is actually a possible option here, but I really like going just Brandon Cooks randomly in these Charger stacks.
Yeah, I like that one a lot, Joe, because everyone's concerned about Herbert. Obviously, Rashawn Slater tearing his bicep. He's out for the year. People are going to be pensive about wanting to play Herbert. But, I mean, guys, it's the Texans. They don't have a very good pass rush. They do have some good corners, which is why the stack I'm not super interested in Keenan Allen. I never really am for whatever reason. I don't know why. I don't have a whole lot of facts to support that. I don't think he's as explosive as Williams. I like playing that stack with Herbert, Eckler, Williams, and then I like running it back with Cooks and Collins if you want to, because like you said, they're going to be throwing it quite a bit. If you didn't want to go with Collins, I think you could run it back with Dameon Pierce in that stack because they are going to try and get him the ball. And if they do get down near the goal line, he is getting all of the goal line work. Sex Rex is, thank God, really not playing a whole lot anymore. I think that my theory is that I don't think that they were super comfortable with Dameon Pierce's pass blocking abilities. Which is why Rex Burkhead played a little bit more week one, but I think he's good now. I think that's a pretty sneaky stack, Joe, that not a lot of people are going to go to. And I think
those are the players I'm going to be mixing in for sure, like in those Buffalo stacks.
Yeah.
Those really high-priced Buffalo, Baltimore stacks, and you can sneak into Nico Collins at 4K. You can sneak into Brandon Cooks. And Brandon Cooks is going to go highly owned. He's that one guy where you can get chalky with Brandon Cooks, but you don't want to miss on him.
100%. So if you put them in a full stack like this, nobody else is going to do that, right? So you're going to be feeling pretty good about yourself, I think, if you do that. Because Brandon Cooks is a guy that people, it's interesting that he's getting some ownership this week because he usually doesn't get that much ownership and always just produces, right? I think it's a price point thing this week. He's under 6,000. We talked about cheaper guys. Nico Collins is 4,000. And if people don't know about Nico Collins, he is not Brandon Cooks. He is a big body. He's a physical receiver. He's a guy that they can look towards in the end zone. And, they even if Brevin Jordan or OJ Howard is there, Derwin James just eliminates tight ends in the middle of the field. We see it all the time. So yeah, I really like that call, Joe. So we'll touching on Dylan at mint condition trading cards. Wanted to talk a little bit about the Jet stack, and I love it. You can play Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson. You can play the Wilson and Wilson law firm this week if you want to. I really like adding Elijah Moore into that. I think that Elijah Moore is a completely different piece of this offense. I think that when you go back and look at how he performed last year, Wilson and Moore had a really good rapport together. And toward the end of the year, once that rapport kind of clicked, they started just going crazy. I like the run back options on the other side of that game. So yeah, I think that it's a super cheap stack too. Like if you put those guys in, those three, Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson, and Elijah Moore, you can basically play whoever the hell you want to outside of them, and you're going to be good to go.
Yep, I like it too. I talked about him a little bit earlier. The Broncos, I just think if they're going to get right, it's going to happen here. They squeaked out that win, started to loosen up in that fourth quarter. The Raiders seem to be a get-right spot for a lot of teams, and it doesn't look like this year's going to be any different. So to your point, Jim, I think very clearly, I think chasing Holland's points is just exactly that. You're chasing last week. So if you're going to do it, I think you could easily go a Russ, Sutton, Judy, and bring it back with Devontae and hope that pops some.
I have somebody I like better than Judy who hasn't been utilized. Was still a little banged up. Yes.
Yeah, I love him, man. He's just not getting in. He's not. I know. I'm with you. I called him in my pod leading up to the season as one of my top 5 sleeper receivers.
He is the Lockett role in that offense where Russ
can just target in 3 weeks.
I know.
It's okay.
Well, he didn't play week 2.
It's okay. We're gonna. I mean, if we're talking stats,
he's going to blow up one of these games because. Yes, I'm with you. And that's a Millie play right there. If you want to go Russ, Sutton, Hamler, Adams in a Millie, that could be something that does damage.
100%.
No doubt about it.
I personally, I would rather, if I'm going to play that stack, I would like to play Russ, Javonte, and Sutton, and then just play Devontae Adams coming back on the other side.
That's fair.
If Renfro doesn't play again,
then
better believe I'm 100%. Now, I think that if I don't see him anywhere. I think he was a concussion, so I think he's probably going to be okay. He did not practice today, so just it's Wednesday. We're doing this a day earlier than we normally do, so just keep an eye on that. But if Renfro's out, you can fire up Mac Hollins. I mean, you might even be able to fire up Mac Hollins anyway, because he was getting targets when Renfro was in there and healthy. So if we're talking about stacks, that's a really nice run back option. And I mean, if you wanted to get crazy, I mean, I guess you could stack the Raiders side of that. I'm not sure that I would talk about a Millie Maker type play. That's certainly it.
Yep. And then last thing I'm just going to mention, and then I'm done with my stacks pretty much, is I will have some Eagles exposure. Like I mentioned, I do think this is a pretty competitive game, 47 over under. I think the Jags are going to give them what they can handle. And we saw week 1, the one real opponent. I don't count Kirk Cousins on Monday night because we know how that turns out. But the Lions put up 35 on these guys week 1. Now, I know Philly's probably gotten some things corrected, but the Jags are no joke, man. And I'm with you. I think Peterson is going to have some tricks up his sleeve. I think this game could get pretty interesting going back to Philly. So, I think, again, pretty concentrated offenses here. Well, not Philly. You got Brown, Smith, Goddard, but Zay, Kirk, Robinson, or Etienne on the other side. You can get different in a lot of ways with that one. So
field is going to be wet in Philly. Just keep that in mind. It
will, but they're on turf, So
Philly's
I'm pretty sure it's a turf field. You sure?
Philly's grass.
All right. Well, sure the grass
guys.
Is nice.
Let's move on to defenses. What defenses are going to be 20-plus points to take your lineup across that line? I mean, my number one defense, if I can afford them, it's the Cowboys going against Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is other than him and Derek Carr, kind of on the same level when it comes to being able to move in the pocket and knowing what the hell they're doing. They can't feel pressure. They have no timing. Micah Parsons is an absolute game wrecker. I think he is going to just destroy. And I think this is like 5+ sacks for the Cowboys, 3+ turnovers. I mean, possibly a defensive touchdown. Cowboys are relying on their defense to win these games with Cooper Rush at quarterback. And they're running their offense just like that, right? So they're not putting Dallas's defense in any bad situations. If I can afford the Cowboys, they're going to be in every lineup if I can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. If I'm not paying up, I'm going down to play Denver. Their pass rush is the absolute real deal. the 49ers.
How about the Raiders? How about the Raiders being at 2,900?
I have no idea. Look, I understand that Max Crosby's having like a pretty good statistical year individually. Like he's piling up sacks and forced fumbles and shit like that. But like what in the hell? Like I think that the Raiders are probably, if you had to say, pick one defense that's going to get you negative points this week, that would probably be one of them that I would pick.
Yeah. Like how are they priced above the Broncos?
I don't know. The Broncos, their defense is the real deal. It's very similar to the 49ers were almost playing a mirror image of themselves with a pretty mediocre offense, with not a great offensive line, with a really good defense and a really good pass rush last Sunday night. So,
one defense outside of Denver that I'm going with right there at the same price point. I'm riding the Chicago Bear train, man. The Giants have the worst offensive line in the league in pressures. I think Danny Dimes has gotten hit more than any other quarterback.
It's not only that, Vinny.
They just lost Sterling Shepard.
Jeff Saturday went on a pretty big rant about it because people are being really critical of Danny Dimes.
Dude,
I think Danny Dimes is good.
He's not that. Yeah, he's not.
He's not as bad as everybody paints him. Number one, he's got nobody to throw to. He's got Butterfingers, Kenny Golladay. He had Sterling Shepard, who's now hurt. And then he's got some other guy, LaSalle or whatever his name is, that I'd never even heard of until I started doing research. And Richie James, who was a perennial practice squad player on the Niners for like 5 years.
It's only Saquon Barkley. So I'll play the Bears. Like, whatever. They're going to run the ball, shorten the game. Dimes will get sacked a few times, maybe a pick. Like, I'm going to play against the Giants every game I can.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the safest defense all week. And I think
the craziest one to play is a team I mentioned earlier. And this is there's going to be some lineups where I think I'm going to fade Philly in general. And I'm going to go with the Jaguars defense. Jaguars defense is elite. Jalen Hurts has not made any mistakes.
That's a bold call. I like it.
Right? But at 2,300, this Jacksonville defense is solid. Yes, I know this Philly offense is scary, but that's what makes this such a, boom or bust, Millie Maker type defense. And at 2,300, I don't think they're going negative points. They're going to get you at least 4 or 5 points this week.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be scared. The way I usually build my lineups is I put defense in very last, and just whoever can fit in that area, that I'll just plug them in at that point. Unless there's somebody I'm really passionate about, like Joey's pretty passionate about the Cowboys this week. I get that. I think that there's some merit to be made for the Chargers against Houston. Again, I know that Bosa's out, but for the extra $200, I'm not sure that it's worth it. I think I'm with Joe. I would just probably rather play Dallas.
If you can get there for sure.
The two highest owned defenses are going to be Pittsburgh and the Eagles, which are kind of strange.
That's exactly why you need to flip to Jacksonville defense and then ETN, right? Kirk, and just go with that Jacksonville offense.
I like it. All right.
We're going to keep surprising teams. All right, guys.
You know what time it is.
Bold call.
It's our favorite part of the podcast.
How about
bold call time?
I nailed one of mine last week.
I don't even remember.
Mine.
Romeo.
You said McCaffrey, Jim.
Okay.
And then Vinnie said Dubes, which got me playing a lot of Dubes last week, which got me a lot of money. So thank you for that. I said Derrick Henry was going to be the highest scoring running back on the slate.
That's a great call.
Was. Okay.
So nailed that one. So let's get on to our bold calls this week. Jimmy, I'm going to let you lead this one off because you were the loser last week.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know why I didn't put him into my bold calls, but I guess I should have. So I'll go with a cheap wide receiver this week. I think it's going to be George Pickens, who's going to get us to the 20-point mark at just $3,800.
All right. I think Nico Collins gets us a touchdown this week.
And is that bold?
I mean, it's 4K.
He's the number 2 wide receiver.
I mean,
so he's gonna get one catch for 7 yards and a touchdown, and you're gonna hit your bold call. That's fucking
fine.
weak.
2 touchdowns.
Okay, there we go. See, this is a bold call.
You took my
easy to get.
You took my 2 touchdown call, so I'll switch it to 30 points for each of them. and I'm saying Tyler Lockett and Rashad Bateman go for 30 this week.
Oh,
Both.
That is a.
I'm gonna throw in a second bold call. ETN goes for 20 points minimum.
I like that, Joe. I can get behind
you guys
that.
are high on him. I will have to play one because I did not really play Matt Collins last week, and you guys won and I didn't. So I will have to get him into a lineup now. Thank you.
And then I don't know how bold this is since it's been pretty consistent, but Amari Cooper goes over 100 yards and goes over 25 DraftKings points again.
So his normal 3 weeks.
You guys keep thinking I'm crazy for playing him.
I know. He's been awesome.
Nope.
All right. I got nothing else.
Joey's
right,
still
guys.
harboring ill will from 4 years ago.
That's every receiver that's ever passed through Oakland or Las Vegas.
Hey, how are those
right,
draft
guys.
picks doing you got for him?
I think half of them are in prison.
You got me locked up, can't let me out.
All right, guys.
Oh, yeah. Rest in
thank you
peace,
for
Julio.
Julio,
Rest in
R.I.P.
Yeah,
He's in the real gangster's paradise now.
Sad.
right. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Ask us any questions you want. We'll be responsive. We'll get you on our podcast. At least we'll mention your questions and talk about it. JJ McIntosh, Vinnie Levine 29, and DFS Joey Levine, and obviously our main account, Red Zone DFS. We're also on Instagram as well. I'm making memes pretty much every day at this point. I think I'm funny, but maybe you guys can attest to that.
All right, guys. If you're still listening, comment on this video on YouTube. We're getting ready to do a giveaway. We're through shooting around some other ideas. What would motivate you and your friends to subscribe to our YouTube channel? We want to do something fun. We want to do a good giveaway. We're probably going to announce it sometime next week. But comment on the video to see what you guys would want. You want a gift card? You guys want a jersey? You want like tickets to a game or something like
steak in the Millie Maker? Like,
whatever. I don't know whatever you guys want. Some actual steak. We can order you some food and send it to you. I mean, I don't know. You want me to cater your next tailgate? Like, I don't know. Throw some comments in there. I don't know what we'll be able to make happen, but we would love to hear some ideas from you guys out there. So thank you very much for listening. We really do appreciate all the support. And if you are supporting us by using Zone 20 at manscaped.com, please do blast it out on Twitter. Tag us. We'll give you retweets. Hopefully get your followers up and keep your balls clean.
Amen.
All right, guys. Peace out. Good luck.
Later.